You're on.
Good morning, everyone. For today's demonstrative speech, I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to have a little fun with it. Now, this speech right here is not my original speech. In my original speech, I had planned to bring my son, and together we were going to demonstrate how to speak to your child. But due to some questionable policies, I was unable to bring him upstairs even for a few minutes. Disappointing, considering my son was looking forward to performing. He had practiced, something that I wanted to share with him. So I had to rethink my speech. I really felt like making a speech demonstrating the problem with people who want to teach responsibility but refuse to take any. But rather than making a commentary on the ridiculous policies of the building that seems to be okay with people bringing children during registration, clearly saying that it's okay to bring them when we want your money, but not when we already have your money, I wanted to keep it positive. So I'm going to stick with the speech of demonstrating how to speak to your child. I'm just going to change it up a little bit. And here's why. In my last speech, I revealed that I grew up in a very strict, very aggressive household. My parents yelled a lot. And that's not an environment that I wanted for my son. So I started changing things about myself, and one of the things that I started changing was that I became a better listener. This skill is a skill that has helped me in various aspects of my life. From my marriage, as I mentioned in my informative speech, was one of the keys in friendships, and especially in raising my son. I didn't agree with the statement, children should be seen and not heard. These are little people with a unique perspective in life, and it's our job to raise them. It's my job to make sure that he gets the right information. And for me to get that information, he needs to speak to me. He's not going to speak to me if I don't speak to him, so how I speak to him is everything. There's two things that I try to remind myself all the time when I speak to my son. The tone of my voice and listening. As adults, we expect a certain type of communication, but children sometimes don't know how to put what they're feeling into words. Many times they don't even know what they're feeling. The anger, anxiety, disappointment. These are all emotions that they especially struggle with. So when my son talks, I want to be there to know what he's feeling. So when he talks, I lower down and I tilt my head to his direction so that he knows that I'm listening to what he's saying. I want to catch everything that he's telling me. I don't want to miss a single thing. When I was growing up, I knew how it felt to not be heard. My parents just brush off everything that I was saying. How it felt to feel like your voice didn't matter. And that can lead to some acting out later on. Second thing I do often, when it's a question that requires serious attention, serious explanation, is that I get down to his level rather than towering over him. We forget that from their perspective, we're giants. So speaking down to them rather than to them can instill a sense of intimidation, which can distract from the message that you're trying to convey. So I get down to eye level, and like any kid, they're gonna lose their focus, their eyes go here and there. So what I like to do is, as I'm explaining something, I'll pause and say, look at me, Jason, look at me, and they'll snap back into focus. You're not going to get a continuous eye contact throughout the entire conversation, but kids have very good memory. And just snapping them back into focus for a little bit, you're going to see that there's a good chance, weeks, maybe even months later, they're going to bring up what you were talking about long after you've already forgotten. You're going to take in that information. Your tone of voice, how I say things, is important. Even if I do yell, and there will be yelling, I make sure that I'm not speaking down to him, but I'm showing him respect as an individual. He's going to know where his place is in the correction. But he's reminded often that he's a member of the family and not a nuisance. Tones can affect how corrections are conveyed. Too much yelling, and it loses its shock value. Too little, they think they can get away with everything. It's about keeping them on their toes. Most importantly, it's about picking your battles. Right now I want to show you a small video demonstrating how to speak to your child. It's something that I wanted to do with my son here, so I had to adjust. I made a video instead it's an instruction. No? Too much?
What's going on?
After the video, I'll just have a few more words.
Hi, my name is Ruben Camacho. You might remember me from such speeches as 5 Keys to a Successful Relationship and
Turn off the
why you
light.
should
Ruben.
beat your child silly. Today, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to show you how you should speak to your child. This is Jason. This little guy's going to be 8 years old in just a few days. He's a sneaky little fella. He likes to steal snacks when he's not supposed to. Let's see how we can use some of the tips we already learned. Jason, I went to the kitchen and I found this bag almost empty. You ate all these Swedish fish and you didn't have breakfast yet. That's not good, Jason. This is candy. You have to have food first, breakfast. You went and you ate this without my permission, and you know that's wrong, right? That's not good. You're going to get sick eating all this candy. You want to get sick? You want to throw up? You like how it feels to throw up? I'm disappointed because you know not to do this. I'm going to have to put you on punishment.
Alright.
Come, I'll talk to you later. Now I'm going to show you another example. A situation that every parent dreads. Let's take a look, see?
Where did Lady come from? Oh, no, I'm sorry. You got this one.
So, Jason, you asked me a very important question, a very good question. You asked me where did babies come from? Right. Well, you remember the talk that we had a long time ago about private areas? Right? And we told you that nobody is supposed to touch private areas, only if mommy and daddy are there, no exceptions, even if it's adopted, right? Well, I told you that these private areas are very important. Now, to explain where babies come from, you know that babies come from girls, right? And only girls can have babies, but boys have a very important role in the baby. So, girls have a vagina, boys have penis. These are the names of the private parts, right? And nobody forget to keep your eye level with those little rascals. If they drift off during your conversation, just bring them back. Say, look at me, Jason, look at me. There you go. That little guy now has your undivided attention and will remember everything you say. And remember, it's also how you say it.
In example one, we see how I can successfully convey my disappointment with my tone of voice and using facts that we previously discussed in other lessons about lying, trust, being honest. Gets it. And in example two, something to keep in mind is that if they're asking you a question, it's because they heard something already from somewhere else. Ignoring them can be dangerous. As parents, we often wait in revealing certain information, but assuming that your child is not ready for a particular subject can be a mistake. You don't have to go into too much detail. Lay a foundation of knowledge and apply accordingly as they get mature. Speaking to your child can be stressful, but it can also be fun. The conversations you will have by keeping these lines of communication open this way, it's going to blow your mind. Knowing your child, talking to them in these ways will make discipline easier and will build a lifelong, unbreakable bond. Now, I know that this isn't the ideal demonstrative speech. I could have done something else. I could have stood here before you all and teach you how to put on a tie or boil an egg or something. But I wanted to show something. In the beginning of this semester, in this class, we were asked the question, did we feel we needed this speech class? I was one of the ones that felt they did. I don't speak to large crowds for a living. In fact, I don't speak to anybody. But it's clear that speech plays a vital role in your day-to-day life. So on top of showing you how to speak to your child, I also wanted to demonstrate how I have applied speech to my day-to-day. It is what I've learned in this class, and hopefully you have too. Thank you.
Now, how do you stop this? How do you stop it?